For the last few months, I've had an unhealthy obsession with one card, Amalia. I started building her in Standard, and then I thought it was finally time to pull the pin and build a deck in Commander. The only problem is I really wanted to add my favorite card, and so what did I do? I booked a flight straight into Tokyo, bookmarked every game store with Magic the Gathering stock, and started to search for one card, Tombstone Stairwell.
I think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Alright, really quickly, before we actually get into Japan, let me explain to you what Amalia does and why I like her so much. Amalia is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to the explore mechanic, and her card reads, whenever you gain life, Amalia explores, then destroy all other creatures if her power is exactly 20. To have a creature explore, reveal the top card of your library, put that card into your hand if it's a land, otherwise put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Then put the card back on top of your library or put it into your graveyard. Explore allows you to filter cards, draw lands, and more importantly, really fill your graveyard, which is how I wanted to build the deck. So the overall goal of the deck that I built was to fill the graveyard as fast as possible and then mass recur them to win the game. Before I headed to Japan, I also visited my LGS and Supernova, which is a convention here in Australia, to pick up singles I didn't already have in my collection. I was lucky enough to find Sun Titan, Soul Attendant, and Vizkopa Guild Mage from Supernova, and then at my LGS I found Soul Warden, Ad Nauseam, Spectrum Sentinel, Lunarch Veteran, Lyris of the Dream Den, Campbell Consort of the Allocation, Death Greeter, Song of the Damned, Cliffhaven Vampire, Tended Strike, Command the Dreadhorde, Daxos, and finally Guide of Souls. After I made these two purchases, my deck was like 99% done, but I was really missing the one card that I wanted for this deck. One of my favorite cards that I've actually already talked about on this channel a few times, called Tombstone Stairwell. If you haven't seen what Tombstone Stairwell is, it's a world enchantment that's on the reserve list and it's impossible to find here in Australia. It's like going for $20 or something now, and it gives you so much value if you have a lot of creatures in your graveyard. So with that being said, let's go to Japan.
Like Destiny.
Segoy, 10 hours of flying later. I started the day in Shibuya, where I headed straight towards Haruya. I entered the store and was honestly blown away by just how many different types of cards there were just sitting in cabinets that I would never find at home. I ended up searching the cabinets in the online stock pretty briefly before I had to go, but unfortunately Tombstone Stairwell was just nowhere to be seen. Later that night, I found myself with a few hours to spare, so I headed straight back to Haruya and Shibuya just to look for it again. I started the search and I swear to God there it was, just like looking back at me. I looked back at the footage from the morning and I swear to God from the time I was away, they'd put it on the shelf. I actually couldn't believe it. I ended up paying 1800 yen, which is about $12.50 for a highly played version, which is pretty decent given that the card is $18 US on Card Kingdom. I also don't know how this card is highly played. There is literally nothing wrong with it. So yeah, I got a pretty good deal on the card. However, if you were to tally up the flights, accommodation, Ubers, and like everything else, it pretty much would have cost me about $2,000 for it.
We got it.
I was also super wrapped that I found it in English, as I'm not super comfortable playing a pretty uncommon card like this in a foreign language, just for like the clarity of the table. If you do want to see the rest of the cards I got from Japan, I'll be posting another video in probably the next few weeks. I spent way too much money and legit filled a small binder full of cards, so if you do want to see the next video coming out, you should definitely subscribe. Now I'll see you back in Australia. Alright, so we're back from Japan, and I think this is going to be the final deck list. I'm sure I'm going to make changes eventually again, but we might as well get into it. This first section is very much just all my like, how I gain life, how does my deck do the thing, and these first three is pretty much the bread and butter. So Soul Warden, Soul's Attendant, and Ariok Champion all pretty much read the exact same. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. The really powerful part about this is it's any creature, not just my creature. So when Amalia is on the board, you're pretty much always doing something at the table, which is really fun, but it also means you draw a lot of attention. So that's these three here. Authority of the Consults does a very similar thing. It also has the ability to make your opponent's creatures enter tapped, which is extremely helpful, especially when it's a 1-drop. So that's also a really good card. This card here, Spectrum Sentinel, allows you to gain 1 life whenever a non-basic land is played, which is very common in Commander. So super powerful one. Also protection from multicolor, which is, pretty good on its own. The rest of these ones is pretty much just whenever my creatures enter the battlefield or gain a life. So this one, whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, you gain 1 life. Gain 1 life, gain 1 life, and yeah, there's quite a few of these. So feel free to pause, but you can pretty much see they're all very, very cheap. Some of these, they're just like random commons. Guide of Souls is really important. This one not only allows you to gain a life and an energy when a creature you control enters the battlefield, but it can also give a creature flying once you hit 3, which is really powerful because as Amalia explores, she's going to get counters and very quickly she's going to get into very big damage. By turn 4 or 5, it's not uncommon that she's a 10/10, and having the ability to give her flying is really powerful, especially when you have some other sneaky cards in the deck. This one's super cool, Case of the Uneaten Feast. It's really powerful for the ability to not only gain a life whenever a creature you control enters the battlefield, but also allows you to sacrifice it once it's solved and cast creatures from your graveyard. So that double whammy of gaining life and reanimation is perfect for what I want to do in this deck. Sun Scorch Regent is also really good. Opponent casts a spell, gain a life, so pretty fun one. This collection of cards is also about life gain, but on the less conditional things. So like these ones are like, whenever another creature dies, you gain a life. Whenever a creature you control you dies, gain a life. Cast a non-creature spell, you gain 2 life. And other creatures put into the graveyard from the battlefield, aka dies, you gain a life. So yeah, 1/5 of the deck is pretty much dedicated to having the ability to gain life through creatures, so that's super powerful. This next section is pretty good too. A lot of this stuff is like your more combo side / drain effect. So a lot of these creatures and enchantments you'll see is whenever you gain a life, each opponent loses 1 life. So Cliffhaven Vampire does that for me. Veto does that for me. Defiant Bloodlord does the same thing. Bloodthirsty Conqueror is the other half of this combo. So whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So obviously this is infinite with quite a lot of cards in my deck. So super valuable piece. Enduring Tenacity, gain life, lose life. Marauding Blight Priest, same thing. Gary's just a great one, as a lot of the time I'm reanimating creatures. So you can play Gary multiple times a game and sometimes it just, it hits. And Starscape Cleric, another effect that allows you to drain people whenever you gain life. So a lot of these cards here are very much just like your drain effects. So if you don't hit the infinite combo, there are ways that you're continuously, doing damage to people on the board. This next section is very much your reanimation package. So a lot of these cards care about the graveyard and returning things from the graveyard. I've also included some really cool cards like Savine's Reclamation, which allows you to play things from the graveyard. So as you're exploring, if you do find this at the top and you don't want to stop, and you don't want to stop fueling the graveyard, what you can do is use its flashback cost later in the game, which is super helpful. Abyssal Harvester, another card that came out in Foundations, is super good. This one really allows you to pull creatures out of your graveyard that might have hit them when you were exploring, so it's super powerful. It also targets things that aren't on your side of the board, so if other opponents mill or die or whatever, you can activate its ability. It's really powerful as it gives you the chance to pull out combo pieces or just other really big beaters from the graveyard. Witchvein Coven reads, whenever you gain life, you may pay black. If you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to hand. So super powerful again to find those pieces that you need when they do hit the graveyard. This card is really great. It's just a 1-cost instant, return target artifact or enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. So again, really part of the goal of this deck is to not stop exploring. So every card you do hit, you either want to put it in your hand if it's a land, or you just want to fill the graveyard. Like, unless you know you're going to win the game, you don't want to stop exploring the card from the top into the graveyard. So this card here makes it a little more lenient if you do find something and you do, like Boulder Citadel, for example, but you want to put it in the graveyard to keep exploring. Dread Return, another one. It does have flashback, so if you do mill it from explore, flashback it later in the game and you do get that value. A lot of these creatures in this deck are super small, so Raise the Pass is awesome for that. Sun Titan, another one. A lot of the time I'm not really casting Sun Titan, but it's going to get reanimated with other things, so it's super great just to get the ETB effect from the reanimation and pulling something else with it. And if it does hang around, it pretty much pulls something out every turn anyway. Ascend from Avernus, just another mass reanimation spell. If you get one of these off, you're pretty much guaranteed to win the game, which is really cool. Command the Dreadhorde, similar thing, allows you to just pull things out of your graveyard all at once and pretty much finish off the game. Chthonian Nightmare, don't sleep on this card. Someone was like, oh, why do you have this card in your deck? You're not really playing energy spells. Who cares about the energy? Pretty much all the creatures in this deck are 3 cost or lower, so having the ability to pull them out of your graveyard with this is insane. It's such a great card. Laris just gives you that more value when things hit the graveyard. I don't really like this as Companion. I think Companion as a mechanic is kind of weak now. It also has lifelink, so if you are able to hit something, then you do get that explore value again. Immortal Servitude, another mass reanimation spell. Oversold Cemetery, I'm not super sold on this card. I haven't been able to play it yet, so I haven't been able to judge it. But yeah, as it says, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 4 more creature cards in your graveyard, you may turn target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. I think this effect is kind of meh, but I also haven't been able to try it. Victimize, a super good card. I don't really think I need to explain that one. It's just amazing to have. And Living Death, another mass reanimation spell. This next section is pretty much just like your honorable mention. So Hallowed Spirit Keeper, which is a really great card that says, whenever it dies, you make spirits with flying equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So once you do have out those creatures which, gain you 1 life for every creature that enters the battlefield, and this dies, you're bringing in 10, maybe 15 tokens sometimes. So the value's insane. Similar to Avenger of the Fallen, this one has Mobilize. When it attacks, you make, 1/1 red warrior tokens for each creature in your graveyard. Again, amazing effect because you're bringing in, 5, sometimes 10 of those tokens, all get the ETB effects, all exploring, and it's just super helpful. It's pretty much the Tombstone Stairwell on a creature, and again, they die, so if you have a Blood Artist effect, it's even better. So super underrated card from Takiel. Tombstone Stairwell, I'm sure you've watched the video by now, so you know what this one does, but just to go over it again, it's a world enchantment for 2 and 2 black. During your upkeep, each player puts a 2/2 black zombie onto the battlefield of each creature in their graveyard, and then they all die at the end of turn. So again, your graveyard is so full of creatures all the time. Tombstone Stairwell allows you to hit those ETB effects, and it's such a great card, and it's such a cool card. Oh, I love this so much. And then of course I've got Squeeze of Blood and Sanguine Bond here. I don't really think I need to explain these ones, but if you don't know what they do, whenever an opponent loses life, you gain life. Whenever you gain life, an opponent loses that much life. So these cards just assist you with finding the creatures on the other half that win you the game. This is also your basic removal. I honestly don't have much in this deck as I'm still really trying to test out the cards that I do like. But Swords of Plowshare, Mortify, Deadly Relic, Flare of Malice, and Anguish Unmaking. I probably should have a little bit more, but for now, these will do. And finally, these are just some other cards which I think really find a home in this deck. Tainted Strike is definitely one of them. Amalia gets so big so quickly, and especially with other things like Karlov of the Ghost Council, you can very easily kill someone with this card. I've done it so many times already, and yeah, I think this one will always just find a place in this deck. I get the Flux Reservoir. I probably don't need to explain this very much, but yeah, just being able to nuke someone for 50 damage is really helpful, and having the ability to gain life for every spell you cast is just great. Archaeomancer's map is a really valuable one. It allows you to find lands earlier in the game. However, its really valuable part is it allows you to put lands from your hand onto the battlefield if someone else plays a land and they control more than you. So with Amalia exploring on everyone's turns, you're drawing so many lands. It's super common to have your hand flooded. So with Archaeomancer's map, it allows you to just keep up with all those green players that are just ramping ahead of you all the time. Not dead after all, you gotta have some commander protection. I think this one is just super accessible, especially if you don't have Kaya's Ghost form. Karlov of the Ghost Council, just another great removal stick with its ability to remove counters to exile things. It also gets really big really quickly. Lotho, honestly, just another great field card. I probably don't need to have it in the deck, but just its ability to make treasures for you is just so helpful in a commander match. Kaya's Ghost form, just to protect the commander. Without it, you don't really have much of a deck. Bloodgust is a nice one. You're able to pull it out of the graveyard really easily. I wish it could block. That'd be awesome, but yeah, this one's just kind of in here for now. I'm not super gassed with it, but it is good. Mortal Kombat, if you haven't seen this card before, it reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 20 or more creature cards in your graveyard, you win the game. Look, it's not great, but I really like this card, and until I get a win with it, I'm probably going to keep it in the deck. I just think that it's one of those cards you play it and people are like, oh, what does that do? And it's just a really cool effect to have on the board, and I don't know, it's just a very cool card. I like it. Lurking Chupacabra is a fucking amazing card. I don't think many people have seen this one before, but it reads, whenever a creature you control explores, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn. So yeah, having the ability to explore heaps of times allows you just to blow up so many things. Ad nauseam. I thought this would be good at the deck. Now I don't really like it. I haven't really been able to do much with it, and thinking about it, probably doesn't need to belong in here, but it's in here for now. I'll give it a go, but it'll probably be cut pretty soon. Boulder Citadel. Awesome with Ad nauseam, but on its own, it's just an amazing card. Pretty much once you get enough creatures on the board, it's just like a free refund as long as you're not hitting lands off the top. And there aren't many lands in this deck, so yeah, pretty much if you get this out, you've pretty much got the game in the bag. And Dark Confident, because why wouldn't you have Bob in this deck? Finally, these are the lands. I'm probably not going to go over them very quickly. It's super cheap land base. Like, besides the Surveil land, Shadowy Backstreet, a lot of it's just basics. I've got like Rogue's Passage in here because the commander does get super big, so you can swing it at people. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's very basic, very cheap stuff. So not really super exciting on the land base. So yeah, that's the deck. I love it. I think it's the best thing ever. Honestly, I probably think she's my favorite Orzhov commander now. She probably just beats out Ensure Gengar for me, as having the ability to explore in Orzhov is just so interesting, as explore to me was always just like a Simic effect. It was so much value, and having that ability in my favorite colors is just super fun. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you did make it to the end of this video, you are the GOAT, so thank you for watching all the way to the end. I will be posting another video from my time in Japan pretty soon, so stay tuned for that, and subscribe if you're cool. Peace.